And also Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 23. Jeremiah 10:23. It says, Lord, I know that the people's lives are not their own. It is not for them to direct their steps. And if you go to the message version, it says, I know, God, that mere mortals cannot run their lives, that men and women do not have what it takes to take charge of their life. Okay, so the life that you and I are living, even though we believe is our life, is actually God's life. It's Zoe in us. It's God's life living in us. And therefore, we are not the best custodian. We are not the best project manager of our life. It's like a manufacturer manufacturing something. For example, you buy a car. Let's say you buy a car brand new, or you buy a gadget brand new, and you refuse to go through the manual. I know many of us are guilty of this, okay? But the point I'm making is this. Let's say you buy a gadget or something you've never used before, and you refuse to go through the manufacturer's manual. How great do you think you will be able to use that thing? For example, let's say you buy a toy for your children or your child, and you decide not to go through the manual, through the manufacturer's manual, and understand how to couple that toy. Do you understand what I'm saying? How best do you think you will be able to couple that toy? And that's what the Bible is also telling us here, that our lives are not our lives. It's actually God's life in us. Okay, we are God creation. God created you and I, and for us to be able to best achieve God's plan and purpose for our life, we need to be in communion. We need to be in koinonia with God. Okay, and also moving forward, Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 to 6 says, Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And verse 6 says, In all your ways submit or acknowledge the Lord, and He will direct your path. Okay, so this is also another reason why I said, as a human being, we are not the best custodian of our lives. It is the manufacturer, God, who created us, that knows the plan and purpose He has for us as individuals, and also He knows what is the best plan that will help us and channel us to achieving the purpose He has given to us. I hope you all can understand me. Now, moving forward, some of you may say, why do you think there is a specific purpose for my life? Some of us may have that thought. Why do you think there is a specific purpose for my life? As I said earlier, there is no manufacturer that creates a product without that product having a purpose to which it was created. I made this statement and I made this illustration in one of my videos. The title of the video is You Have Everything You Need. So I encourage any one of us that have not seen that video to go to my YouTube channel. It's on my Facebook, it's on my Instagram. You can go look up that video. You have everything you need. All right. So God did not create you and I with no purpose and with no use. Just as a manufacturer cannot manufacture a product that has no use, God also cannot create a human being that has no use. And this is why I said every one of us has a plan and purpose that God has ordained for you and I. Okay? Every one of us has a plan and purpose that God has ordained for us all. All right? And also, I'd like to take us into the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 25 to 27. Genesis, chapter 1, verse 25 to 27. So, verse 25, verse 25 says, And God said, and this is when God created man, I want to take us back to the book of Genesis when man was created so that you can understand that you have a purpose in this world. God didn't create you just for creation's sake. There is a specific purpose that only you can best actualize. There are people that are sent to you. There are people that you are sent to. There are people that if you don't fulfill destiny, if you don't discharge the purpose that God has for you, a lot of people will struggle. They might eventually get it right, but it will come at a cost. Your success, your destiny is attached to other people's success. Do you understand me? All right. So Genesis chapter 1, verse 25 to 27. Uh, just go to, and God said, let us make man in our own image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. And verse 27 says, so God created man in his own image, and the image of God created he him, male and female. So he's just talking about the fact that God created us male and female. And verse 28 says, and God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful. I want to lay emphasis on the word be fruitful. Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth, and then subdue the earth, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Now, I made mention that emphasis on be fruitful earlier, right? That's the first thing that God said to us to do after He created us and blessed us. Just want to go over that again. In verse 28, and God blessed them and said unto them, be fruitful. That's the first instruction that God gave man when He created us and blessed us. He said, be fruitful. And I'm asking you, what does it mean to be fruitful? When you are fruitful, it means you are producing. Okay, it means you're producing something. And now, I said here, if you look at a fruit, like a fruit, a so in Yoruba, let's say mango, pineapple, name them. If you look at a fruit, what does a fruit produce? A fruit produce after its own kind. All right, any seed, any fruit, any plant that you have, it will produce after its own kind in accordance also to the in accordance to the law of God. All right. So when God is telling you and I that we should be fruitful, what God is telling us in essence is that there is something already inside of you. All you have to do is to reproduce or produce that thing. Don't forget, like I said earlier, when God said be fruitful, I said if you pick a fruit and you plant a fruit in a fertile soil, that fruit will only produce after its own kind because the life that will make that fruit to reproduce is already encoded or encapsulated in that fruit. Okay? So when God told man, be fruitful, multiply, have dominion over the earth, and those other instructions, when God gave us the instruction to be fruitful, in essence, what God is trying to tell you and I is that there is a seed inside of you. Yes, either you're looking at me, whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. I want you to believe that there is a seed of greatness that God has put inside of you. And all what God is telling you by telling you to be fruitful is that just produce after after your kind. Just give birth, just produce, just unleash, just unlock what has already been deposited in you. Okay, so I'm encouraging us and I'm challenging every one of us to understand and know that God has a specific plan and purpose for your life, there is a seed of greatness in your life. You might not believe it today, you might doubt it, you might not believe even tomorrow, but you need to come to this agreement. You need to come to this understanding that God deposited in you greatness. Okay? God deposited a seed of greatness in you. Don't forget, scripture says that we are made in God's image. Okay? When God created us, He had a specific purpose in mind to why He created us. I'm still going to go to some biology and science, but I don't want to go there and that's to also encourage you that you're looking at me, that you didn't come to this world by mistake. It was not an error that you came into this world. You might think it's an error. You might have been born out of maybe, you know what I mean. You might have been born due to a lot of maybe unpleasant situations or unpleasant circumstances, as we know the possibilities. But I want you to know that even though on the earth people have a name to say, "Oh, you were born out of these," that those unpleasant circumstances do not matter. God knew you. It was specific about you coming into this world. As a matter of fact, even in the legal sector, there is no bastard. Okay? You can't go to the court of law and refer to anyone as a bastard. There is no bastard, because that person that you say has no father, you are biologically wrong to say that person has no father. Because for anyone to be born, there has to be a coming together of a man and a woman. Okay, so even though we do not know who that person's father is, we know by science and by biology that a man must have copulated the woman that gave birth to that person, or a man's liquid, you know what I mean, must have fertilized the egg that now formed to the pregnancy that gave back to that person. All right. So, like I said, when God said you should be fruitful, what God is trying to tell us is that just produce after the kind based on what I've deposited in you. Okay. I just hope you and I understand what I'm saying. All you need to do is to produce what God has deposited in you. Don't let it lie to waste. Don't let it go to waste. Okay. And I also say here that if you don't know what God's plan or purpose for your life is yet, please don't knock yourself down. If you don't know it yet, you don't have to kill yourself over it. It would take time for you to have the specifics, okay? And for you to have the significant and fundamental information of what is it that God has for you. So don't knock yourself down if, as I, when you're listening to this video, you don't understand it in full. Don't knock yourself down. Just ensure you communicate and continue to be in fellowship with God. And at the right time, you would have the full picture of God's purpose for your life. And even God's purpose for your life, you might not even know everything, because, as I said earlier, God's ways and thoughts are higher than your thought. For example, now there might be a president of a nation of the world listening to me today, and you've not even come to the understanding that you ever become a president. So, if you don't know the full picture for your yet, don't knock yourself down. Just continue fellowshipping with God, and God will reveal to you in stages and in phases. Okay. Another thing I wanted to let you know why I said there is a specific purpose for your life, and that there is a seed of greatness in your life, and that you are not here just for being on the earth alone. God put something in you, and that is why you were allowed to come into this realm, into the earth. In Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5, it says here, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart, and I appointed you as a prophet." Now, in this case, I am not saying every one of us are prophets, okay? That's not what I'm saying. But I'm trying to go back to the first two phrases where he says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. So for every one of us listening to me today, and for every one of us that's going to come onto this channel and this video, and even for everyone on the surface of the earth, God knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. Whether you believe it or whether you know it or not, God knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. And another thing I wanted to talk about as well, where I said biologically and scientifically, the average human or the average man produces about average now. So when a man produces that liquid that fertilizes, we are made to understand that there is about an over 15 million sperm cells. So there's about 15 million sperm cells that can fertilize or that could have fertilized the egg that led to you being formed in your mother's womb. So out of the 15 million sperm cells, okay, that's like the average normal human being. Due to a lot of things or due to certain situations, it might be lower than that. But just come to the understanding that out of millions of sperm cells that could have fertilized the egg, it was the sperm cell that you were encoded in that actually fertilized the egg that formed the baby in the womb. Have you come to this understanding? Out of the possible millions of sperm cells, it was you that got to the egg first and fertilized it, and the baby was formed in the womb. This information alone, this fact alone, should make you to know that indeed God has a specific purpose and plan for your life. And for any of us that might be struggling from maybe lack of confidence or esteem issues, this fact alone should actually boost your confidence and should give you a higher self-esteem. Out of the possible millions of sperm cells that could have fertilized the egg, you were the luckiest. If I can use the word, you were the luckiest. So this alone should boost your confidence. This alone should give a high sense of esteem. God knew you, and that's why it was your sperm cell that fertilized the egg first. And if there are twins or triplets or what have you, the fact that out of the millions of those sperm cells, it was you and your brother or you and your twin or you triplets or quadruplets that fertilized, that also tells you something that God had you in mind. God had you in mind, and that's why it was you that got to the egg first. Okay, so like I said, it's either you're very lucky or indeed God was specific about you, and that's why it was you that fertilized the egg. And what I believe is that God was specific about you coming into this earth through your parent, and that's why you were the one that fertilized the egg. Also, Jeremiah 29, verse 11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and future." So, like I said earlier, God has a specific plan for you. God has His own ordained purpose in your life. That's why you came into this world. All right. So, I'm going to give us about four significant. So, I'm going to give us about four. There is about four issues that we can use to signify for you to know what your plan and purpose is. There are four questions that when is asked and you can respond to those questions, you should be able to have an idea of what your purpose is. You might not get it fully because, like I said, it is in stages, it is in phases. But these four questions, I've coined these questions. They are not exhaustive, But I believe a proper, meticulous answering of this question will be able to point you, signify you, and also signal you to a possibility of what God's purpose is for your life. Okay? So now, how to discover your purpose? Like I said earlier, these four questions, if you are